Life can change in an instant. One moment the world is familiar, comforting. The next it's as if a rug has been pulled out from under you, leaving you reeling in the sudden emptiness. Grief doesn't announce its arrival. It crashes into your world, shattering the fragile peace you once knew. This is what grief feels like: a sudden disruption of peace, a shattering of the soul. When grief hits, the instinct to withdraw is strong.
The drive is a blur of emotions. The highway stretches ahead, a journey into the unknown territory of grief.
The cabin is a refuge, a place where she can shed the mask of normalcy. Here she can finally allow herself to grieve openly and honestly. But even in this self-imposed exile, Eden cannot escape the pervasive presence of her loss. Grief is a fickle companion. It can lie dormant only to resurface when you least expect it.
One moment I'm making coffee, the next I'm startled by the sound of my child's laughter.
But the laughter fades, replaced by an eerie silence. It's in these moments that Eden begins to question her own sanity. Is she losing her grip on reality, or is her grief manifesting itself in these unsettling ways? Eden finds herself drawn to the local church, a place that once represented solace.
As I hesitate at the entrance, a woman emerges, her face etched with wisdom.
This woman, the pastor's wife, becomes an unexpected source of comfort. She provides a listening ear and a safe space for Eden to process her grief.
In my presence, Eden finds a glimmer of hope.
Perhaps she doesn't have to walk this path alone. Grief, like a brewing storm, gathers strength over time.
For me, the storm broke on a night of torrential rain.
Drawn to the lake, she walks into the water, the cold seeping through her clothes.
As the rain lashed down, I collapsed on the shore, my cries lost in the wind.
She rages against the unfairness of it all, the unanswered questions. It's a raw and primal outpouring of grief, a necessary release that leaves her spent and vulnerable. The storm eventually subsided, leaving behind a profound silence.
As the first rays of dawn pierced through the storm clouds, I stirred.
The world seemed fragile, as if it too had been shaken by her grief.
As I slowly sat up, I noticed a small leather-bound book lying nearby. It was my Bible, the one David had given me on our wedding day.
As she reached for it, a peculiar sense of calm washed over her, a sliver of peace amidst the wreckage of her grief. Back in the stillness of the cabin, Eden clutched the Bible to her chest.
I moved through the cabin with a newfound sense of purpose.
Among the remnants of her former life, she discovered a box filled with her son's belongings.
The pain of his absence was still raw, but mingled with it was a profound sense of love.
Eden spent hours lost in these mementos, the weight of her loss pressing down on her. It was an exhausting process, but a necessary one. Days turned into weeks, each sunrise a fragile promise of a new beginning. Eden found solace in the rituals of daily life. The pastor's wife, Sarah, became a regular visitor, her gentle presence a beacon of warmth.
Grief is a journey. It's not something you get over, but something you learn to live with.
Her words resonated deeply with Eden, offering a glimmer of hope. For the first time, Eden allowed herself to imagine a future beyond her grief. Despite moments of connection, Eden couldn't shake the feeling she was holding something back. The nightmares continued, each one a visceral reminder of the night her life changed. In these dreams, she was back in the car, the rain lashing against the windshield. The terror was always the same, the sickening crunch of metal, the blinding headlights. She would wake up gasping for air, her heart pounding, the weight of that night pressing down on her. She hadn't spoken to anyone about the accident, not even to Sarah. One evening, the weight of her unspoken guilt became unbearable. Driven by a need she couldn't articulate, she found herself drawn back to the church. It was a Wednesday evening, and the sanctuary was empty except for Sarah, who was seated at the piano. As Eden hesitated at the back of the church, Sarah stopped playing and turned towards her.
I was hoping you might come.
Her words were like a lifeline, and for the first time, Eden allowed herself to believe that perhaps confession held the key to her healing. As the words tumbled out, Eden felt a weight lift from her shoulders.
I just don't know how to move on.
God doesn't punish us for the mistakes we make.
When Eden was finished, Sarah simply nodded, her eyes filled with compassion.
He offers us grace, a chance to redeem ourselves.
That night, as Eden lay in bed, she felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, a tiny ember in the vast darkness. The weight of confession left Eden feeling strangely lighter, yet the echoes of that night still lingered in her mind. Sleep offered little respite. Her dreams were a confusing montage of past and present. She found herself wandering the cabin at night seeking solace in the mundane. The silence of the cabin now seemed to amplify the echoes of her loss. Seeking refuge from the turmoil within, Eden immersed herself in the physical remnants of her past. She unearthed boxes of photographs, each image a portal to a happier time. She arranged the photos on the mantelpiece, creating a chronological tapestry of their lives together. As she traced the outlines of their faces, a wave of longing washed over her. But amidst the pain, there were also glimmers of joy. The process of revisiting these memories was both cathartic and exhausting. Encouraged by Sarah, Eden began to explore writing as a means of processing her grief.
The words felt trapped inside, tangled up with the knots of pain and guilt.
Sarah suggested Eden approach writing simply as a means of releasing her emotions.
I wrote about the accident, the guilt, the overwhelming sense of loss. I wrote about David, his laughter, his love, and about Micah, his energy, his hugs.
As she wrote, the words tumbled out in a torrent of raw emotion, each sentence a small victory over the silence. Sarah, sensing Eden's growing need for connection, invited her to attend a grief support group that met weekly at the church. The thought of sharing her story with strangers, of exposing her raw vulnerability to the world, filled Eden with a mixture of apprehension and a strange sense of anticipation.
The group was small, just a handful of people gathered in a circle in the church basement, their faces etched with a mixture of pain and fragile hope.
As Eden listened to their stories, stories of love and loss, of shattered dreams and the long, arduous journey of healing, she felt a sense of kinship, a recognition that she was not alone in her grief.
There was a woman who had lost her husband to cancer, her voice trembling as she spoke of his last days, the way he had faced death with courage and grace.
There was a young man, his eyes red-rimmed with grief, who had lost his best friend in a car accident, the guilt and regret evident in his every word. And there was Eden, her voice barely a whisper at first as she shared her story, the words tumbling out in a torrent of emotion as she spoke of David and Micah, of the accident that had taken them from her, of the guilt and despair that had haunted her ever since.
As I spoke, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders, a sense of release that came from finally sharing my burden with others who understood the depths of my pain.
In their shared stories, she found a strange comfort, a sense of belonging to a community bound together by the shared experience of loss. As the days grew longer and the first buds of spring began to appear, Eden found solace in the natural world around her. She spent hours walking in the woods surrounding the lake, the fresh air and the scent of pine needles a balm to her weary soul.
The rhythmic sound of my footsteps on the forest floor, the gentle rustling of leaves overhead, the occasional chirp of a bird. These sounds of nature, once lost in the cacophony of my grief, now held a soothing quality, a reminder that life, in all its messy beauty, went on.
She began to notice the small details she had previously overlooked, the intricate patterns of bark on the trees, the delicate beauty of wildflowers pushing their way through the undergrowth, the play of sunlight and shadow on the forest floor. The natural world, she realized, was a constant cycle of death and rebirth, a testament to the resilience of life even in the face of adversity.
As I watched a spider spin its intricate web, I was reminded that even the smallest creatures possessed an innate ability to rebuild and adapt, to find beauty and purpose even in the most unexpected of places.
One evening, as Eden sat on the porch swing, watching the sunset over the lake, a sense of peace settled over her, a peace she hadn't felt since David and Micah's passing. The sky was ablaze with color, fiery oranges, deep purples, streaks of pink and gold, a breathtaking display of nature's artistry.
Hope.
It was a fragile thing, this hope, as delicate as a newborn butterfly emerging from its chrysalis. But it was there nonetheless, a tiny ember flickering in the darkness, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to heal and grow, even in the face of unimaginable loss.
Grief is a journey, not a destination. She was beginning to understand the truth of those words, to see that healing wasn't about erasing the pain of the past, but about learning to carry it with her, to integrate it into the fabric of her being, to allow it to shape her into the woman she was meant to be.
Days began to melt into each other, marked not by the milestones of a life once lived, but by the gentle rhythm of sunrise and sunset over the placid lake. The initial shockwaves of grief had subsided, leaving in their wake a quiet ache, a constant companion that settled in the pit of Eden's stomach, a dull throb that intensified with each passing memory, each whispered, "What if?"
Yet within the confines of her secluded world, she found a strange comfort in the predictability of routine. The act of rising with the sun, brewing a pot of coffee, tending to her small garden, these simple tasks, once taken for granted, now held a meditative quality, a way to anchor herself to the present moment, to quiet the relentless chatter of her mind.
The garden had become her sanctuary, a place where she could lose herself in the physicality of digging in the earth, planting seeds, nurturing life. She found a quiet satisfaction in watching the tiny green shoots emerge from the soil, reaching towards the sun with an almost desperate urgency, a testament to the tenacious nature of life, its unwavering will to persist even in the face of adversity.
And as she tended to her plants, nurturing their fragile growth, she felt a flicker of hope ignite within her own weary heart, a whisper of possibility that perhaps, just perhaps, she too could find a way to bloom again, to find beauty and meaning in the wreckage of her life.
Sarah, with her innate understanding of the human heart, recognized in Eden's quiet routine not a retreat from life, but a necessary period of gestation, a time for healing to unfold at its own pace. She continued her weekly visits, her presence a comforting constant in Eden's otherwise solitary existence.
They would sit together on the porch swing, sipping tea, watching the sun paint the sky in hues of orange and pink each evening. They spoke little, their silences no longer strained or awkward, but imbued with a shared understanding, a recognition of the unspoken depths of grief that bound them together.
Sometimes Sarah would bring her knitting, the rhythmic click-clack of the needles a soothing counterpoint to the gentle lapping of the lake against the shore. Other times she would simply sit with her hands folded in her lap, her gaze fixed on the horizon, her mind lost in thoughts that Eden could only guess at.
But it was in those shared silences, in the unspoken language of presence and empathy, that Eden found a solace she hadn't realized she was seeking. Sarah didn't offer platitudes or easy answers, didn't try to fill the empty spaces with well-meaning but ultimately hollow words. She simply sat with Eden in her grief, holding space for her pain, reminding her through her quiet presence that she wasn't alone.
One afternoon, Sarah arrived at the cabin with a gift, a wooden box filled with art supplies, paints, brushes, sketchbooks, charcoal pencils.
"I thought you might like to try something new," Sarah said gently, placing the box on the kitchen table. "Sometimes words aren't enough. Sometimes we need other ways to express what's in our hearts."
Eden hesitated, her initial instinct to resist, to retreat back into the familiar comfort of her routine. She hadn't picked up a paintbrush since she was a child, her creative impulses long ago stifled by the demands of adulthood, by the belief that art was a luxury she couldn't afford. But Sarah's words, coupled with the enticing array of colors and textures before her, sparked a flicker of curiosity within Eden. That evening, after Sarah had left, she found herself drawn to the box, her fingers tracing the smooth surface of a tube of cobalt blue paint, the rough texture of a charcoal stick. With hesitant strokes, she began to sketch, her hand moving instinctively across the page, guided not by conscious thought, but by the wellspring of emotions that had long been bottled up inside her. She didn't try to create anything specific, but simply allowed the charcoal to flow across the paper, translating the abstract language of grief into lines, shapes, and shadows. As the days turned into weeks, Eden found herself spending more and more time lost in her art. The act of creation became a form of meditation, a way to silence the noise of the outside world and tap into the depths of her own being. She experimented with different mediums: watercolors, ethereal washes, acrylics, bold strokes, the raw, unforgiving nature of charcoal. Each medium offered a different way of seeing, of feeling, of expressing the complex tapestry of her grief. She painted swirling abstracts that captured the turbulent emotions that raged within her, the colors bleeding into one another, reflecting the way joy and sorrow, anger and peace could coexist in the same space. She sketched delicate portraits of David and Micah, capturing not just their physical likeness but the essence of their spirits. David's kind eyes crinkled in a smile, Micah's infectious grin, his head thrown back in laughter. These portraits, though tinged with sadness, were imbued with a profound love, a testament to the enduring power of memory, the way those we have loved and lost continue to live on in our hearts. Through her art, Eden began to see beyond the surface of her grief, to glimpse the layers of meaning and beauty hidden beneath the pain. She realized that grief wasn't something to be overcome, but a journey to be navigated, a process of transformation that, while painful, held the potential for profound growth and healing. One afternoon, as Eden was working on a particularly evocative portrait of Micah, his small hand outstretched as if reaching for hers, a wave of emotion washed over her, so intense it took her breath away. It wasn't just grief she felt, but a deep, abiding love, a love that transcended the boundaries of life and death. And with that love came a sudden, unexpected realization: she needed to forgive herself. For months, she had carried the weight of guilt and self-recrimination, blaming herself for the accident that had taken her family from her. But in that moment, as she gazed at the image of her son, his eyes shining with a love that knew no bounds, she understood that forgiveness wasn't about absolving herself of responsibility, but about releasing herself from the shackles of guilt that had kept her tethered to the past. With trembling hands, she reached for her journal, the blank page no longer a source of intimidation, but a canvas for her own healing. She wrote about the accident, about the guilt and shame that had haunted her for so long. But this time, she wrote from a place of compassion, acknowledging her own humanity, her own limitations. She wrote about the love she had for David and Micah, a love so powerful that it transcended even the finality of death. And she wrote about the forgiveness she knew they would offer her, a forgiveness that was hers for the taking, if only she could find it within herself to accept it. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the lake, Eden closed her journal, a sense of peace settling over her, a peace she hadn't felt since before the accident. She knew the journey ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be days when the grief threatened to overwhelm her, moments when the pain felt unbearable. But she also knew that she wasn't alone.
I have Sarah, her unwavering support and quiet wisdom a constant source of strength. I have my art, a means of expressing the inexpressible, of finding beauty and meaning in the midst of suffering. And I have the love of David and Micah, a love that transcended the boundaries of life and death, a love that will continue to guide and sustain me for the rest of my days.
As she stood on the porch, watching the last rays of sunlight fade below the horizon, she made a decision. She would return to the grief support group, not as a wounded soul seeking solace, but as a beacon of hope, a testament to the transformative power of grief, the resilience of the human spirit. It was time, she realized, to take the first step forward, to embrace the future, however uncertain it might be, and to honor the memory of those she had loved and lost, by living a life filled with purpose and meaning. The grief support group, once a daunting prospect, became a lifeline, a beacon of light in the fog of Eden's grief. The faces around the circle, each etched with its own unique story of loss, became familiar, their shared vulnerability creating a space of unexpected intimacy and solace. There was comfort in the simple act of gathering week after week, their voices weaving together a tapestry of shared experience, a testament to the universality of grief, its ability to touch every life regardless of age, background, or circumstance.
As I listened to their stories of love and loss, of shattered dreams and the long, arduous journey of healing, I felt a sense of kinship, a recognition that I was not alone in my pain.
There was a quiet strength in the way they held space for one another's tears, their silences filled with empathy, their words when they came, laced with a deep understanding that transcended the boundaries of language.
In our shared vulnerability, we found a strange comfort, a sense of belonging to a community bound together by the shared experience of loss.
And as she listened to their stories, she began to see her own grief reflected back at her, not as a sign of weakness or failure, but as a testament to the depth of her love for David and Micah, a love so powerful that it could weather even the most devastating of storms. With each passing week, Eden felt a subtle shift within herself. The raw edges of her grief, though still present, had softened, the constant ache in her chest replaced by a dull throb that no longer threatened to consume her whole. She found herself drawn back to the natural world, her walks in the woods no longer tinged with a sense of isolation, but with a growing awareness of the quiet beauty that surrounded her.
The trees, once stark sentinels against a backdrop of loss, now seemed to whisper words of comfort and resilience. Their roots, firmly planted in the earth, spoke of strength and endurance, their branches reaching towards the heavens, a testament to the enduring power of hope.
She found solace in the changing seasons, in the way nature effortlessly navigated the cycles of death and rebirth. The vibrant colors of autumn, a poignant reminder of life's impermanence, gave way to the quiet stillness of winter, a time for reflection and renewal. And as spring emerged, tentative at first, then bursting forth in a riot of color and fragrance, she felt a glimmer of hope stir within her own weary heart.
The natural world, I realized, offered a language that transcended words, a language that spoke to the deepest parts of my being, reminding me that even in the midst of darkness there was always the promise of light, of growth, of new beginnings.
One sunny afternoon, as Eden was weeding her garden, the scent of freshly turned earth filling her senses, she heard it. The faint echo of laughter carried on the breeze.
For a moment, my heart skipped a beat, my mind conjuring up an image of Micah, his small face aglow with mischief, his infectious laughter filling the air.
She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply, willing the sound to return, to solidify into something tangible, something she could reach out and touch. But the laughter faded, leaving behind a silence that was both deafening and strangely comforting.
It was then I realized that the laughter hadn't been a figment of my imagination, but a memory, a precious echo of a life lived, a love that transcended the boundaries of time and space.
And in that realization, she found a sense of peace she hadn't thought possible, a recognition that the essence of those we have loved and lost continues to reside within us, their spirits woven into the very fabric of our being.
From that day forward, I began to notice these echoes more and more, not just in the sounds that surrounded me, but in the warmth of the sun on my skin, in the scent of rain on dry earth, in the gentle caress of the wind on my face.
They were subtle reminders, these echoes of a life well lived, a love that death could not diminish, a presence that continued to surround her, offering comfort and solace in her moments of need. As the weeks turned into months, Eden found herself taking on a new role within the grief support group, that of a mentor, a source of strength and encouragement for those who were new to the journey of grief.
I shared my story openly and honestly, my words imbued with a hard-won wisdom, a testament to the transformative power of vulnerability and the healing that can come from sharing our pain with others.
She spoke of the darkness she had navigated, the depths of despair she had plumbed, but also of the glimmers of hope she had found along the way, in the unwavering support of her friends, in the solace of nature, in the transformative power of art.
I encouraged them to allow themselves to feel the full spectrum of their grief, to resist the urge to suppress their emotions or to rush the healing process.
She reminded them that there was no right or wrong way to grieve, that each person's journey was unique and should be honored as such.
And most importantly, I offered a message of hope, a message born out of my own experience, a message that whispered of the possibility of finding meaning and purpose even in the face of unimaginable loss.
She spoke of the resilience of the human spirit, its capacity for growth and transformation, its ability to find beauty and joy even in the midst of darkness. One evening, as Eden was walking along the shore of the lake, the setting sun painting the sky in hues of orange and gold, she felt a familiar sense of peace wash over her.
The air was still, the surface of the lake a mirror reflecting the colors of the sky. I closed my eyes, inhaling deeply, the scent of pine needles and damp earth filling my senses.
As she stood there, lost in the tranquility of the moment, a gentle breeze swept across the lake, ruffling the surface of the water, whispering through the trees.
And in that whisper I heard a faint echo of Micah's laughter, so real, so close, it took my breath away.
This time she didn't question the sound, didn't try to hold on to it or analyze its meaning. She simply allowed herself to be present in that moment, to feel the warmth of the sun on her skin, to breathe in the sweet scent of the breeze, to listen to the whispers of the wind carrying her son's laughter.
It was a promise, I realized, a whispered reassurance that though their physical presence might be gone, their spirits remained, woven into the very fabric of my being, a source of comfort and strength that would never truly leave me.
The seasons turned, each cycle of death and rebirth a testament to the enduring power of life. Eden's grief, though still a part of her, no longer defined her. It had become a thread woven into the tapestry of her being, a source of both pain and profound beauty, a reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of love.
I continued to paint, my art a visual expression of my journey, a testament to the healing power of creativity. I found joy in sharing my story with others, in offering hope and encouragement to those who were navigating their own paths through grief.
And as she stood on the porch of the cabin one morning, watching the sun rise over the lake, casting its golden rays across the water, she realized that she had reached a place of acceptance, a place where grief and gratitude could coexist, where the pain of loss was tempered by the enduring power of love. The journey had been long and arduous, but she had emerged from the darkness transformed, her spirit tempered by the fires of grief, her heart open to the possibility of new beginnings. The future stretched before her, uncertain yet full of promise, and she embraced it with a newfound sense of hope and gratitude, her heart forever bound to the memory of those she had loved and lost. The cabin, once a refuge from the storm of grief, had become a sanctuary of healing, a place where Eden had slowly, painstakingly pieced together the fragments of her shattered heart. The lake, a silent witness to her pain, now reflected back a newfound serenity, its surface shimmering with the promise of brighter days to come. The wind, once a harbinger of loss, now carried a different message, a gentle whisper that spoke of resilience, of the enduring power of love, of the possibility of finding peace even in the face of unimaginable sorrow. It rustled through the leaves of the trees, a symphony of hope and renewal, a reminder that even in the stillness of grief, life went on.
I no longer sought to outrun the memories of David and Micah, but embraced them with a bittersweet tenderness, their presence woven into the very fabric of my being. Their laughter echoed in the rustling leaves. Their love warmed me like the rays of the setting sun, their spirits a constant source of comfort and strength. The pain of their absence hadn't vanished entirely. Some wounds I knew ran too deep to ever truly heal, but it had lost its sharp edges, its ability to cripple my spirit. In its place, a profound gratitude had taken root, a deep appreciation for the gift of their love, a love that death had no power to diminish.
The journey through grief, Eden had discovered, was not a linear progression from darkness to light, but a winding path with unexpected twists and turns, moments of profound despair followed by glimmers of unexpected joy. There were days when the weight of her loss threatened to pull her under, when the silence of the cabin was deafening, when the memories came unbidden, bringing tears to her eyes and a familiar ache to her heart.
But there were also days when I felt a lightness in my step, when the world seemed to shimmer with a newfound beauty, when the simple act of breathing, of feeling the sun warm my skin, of watching a hummingbird sip nectar from a flower, filled me with a sense of wonder and gratitude.
She had learned to trust the ebb and flow of her grief, to allow herself to feel the full spectrum of her emotions without judgment or expectation. She had learned that healing wasn't about erasing the pain of the past, but about integrating it into the tapestry of her being, allowing it to shape her into the woman she was meant to be. The path ahead was still unfolding, its destination unknown, but she no longer feared the uncertainty, the possibility of future pain. She had learned that life was a delicate balance of joy and sorrow, of light and shadow, and that true strength lay not in avoiding the darkness, but in learning to dance with it, to find beauty even in the most unexpected of places. The Grief Support Group, once a lifeline, had become a source of mutual support and inspiration. Eden, her spirit tempered by the fires of her own loss, had blossomed into a beacon of hope for others, her story a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, her words a balm to wounded hearts.
I shared my journey with a raw honesty that resonated deeply with those who were new to the wilderness of grief, reminding them that they were not alone in their pain, that healing however gradual and arduous was possible. I encouraged them to embrace the full spectrum of their emotions, to find solace in the simple rituals of daily life, to seek out connections with others who understood the depths of their loss.
Your story gives me hope, Eden. It reminds me that even in our darkest moments, we can find light and strength.
And as she stood before them, week after week, her heart opened to their pain, their hope, their shared humanity. She realized that the greatest gift her grief had given her was the ability to truly see and appreciate the preciousness of life, the importance of cherishing each moment, of living with intention and purpose. The journey through grief had been long and arduous, but it had led her to a place of profound understanding, a place where she could embrace the future, however uncertain, with a newfound sense of courage and hope. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the promise of new beginnings, and Eden, her heart open to the horizon, took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to embrace the beauty and the mystery of the unfolding path before her. Stand by for Chapter 3. Premieres 2 p.m. next Tuesday, May 13th, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We hope to see you there.